West weed book, which is kind of funny because some of the things that you see in this book like might look a lot like flowers, but they're still considered weeds. And so I got to thinking, how do we know if a weed is or a plant is poisonous or not poisonous to because stinging nettle here, those are poisonous to the touch. If you ever run into a stinging nettle, you'll know, because it zaps you. It really feels like you're being stung. And so I just got to thinking about that, and I thought of a Mystery Doug that I saw about how to tell if plants are poisonous. And I think this is poisonous to eat, not poisonous to touch. So, but some of these plants that they say are weeds are really cool, kind of cool looking. So it's interesting.
Mom gone. Mom, like Mr. Doug asked Mom, all the slides when I'm done with all of them, and I did.
Okay. All right, Hayden, why don't you sit down? Just sit down. Don't worry about whatever you're doing. Okay. So let's put that on and let's think about it. Find. How can you tell if a plant is poisonous? He's from Canada.
Hi, Doug.
Hi, Landon.
I have a question for you. How can you tell if a plant is poisonous?
That's a great question.
There's probably lots of food from plants that you love to eat. Maybe you like strawberries, or carrots, or raspberries. I'm guessing most of these are things you get from the grocery store. All of the foods from plants in the grocery store grow in the wild too. But definitely not all of the plants you can find in the wild are safe to eat. You might have heard that some plants out there are really poisonous. Here's a great example. It's called the manchineel. This plant is considered to be one of the world's most dangerous trees. If you barely touch it, or even stand under it to keep dry from the rain, the sap from this tree can burn your hands and give you huge blisters. Even using its wood in a campfire isn't safe because the smoke can make you go blind. In the country of England, some people have put together a collection of some of the most poisonous plants in the world. It's called the Poison Garden. You can visit there, but be careful not to touch or smell any of the flowers. That's because they're all poisonous. So poisonous that some visitors have actually fainted. They didn't follow the no smelling, no touching rules. Seriously. Now, these are really extreme examples. To be honest, there's probably nothing that poisonous near where you live. Still, there might be some poisonous plants. Do you know of any plants near you that might be poisonous?
So do you guys know of any plants near you that might be poisonous? Elizabeth?
Some cactus can be poisonous.
Okay. Anybody else? Oh, Sophia?
Mushrooms?
Right, there's actually quite a few poisonous mushrooms that can grow all over. And so you never want to eat a mushroom that you see growing because you never know if it's going to be a poisonous mushroom or if it's one that that you can eat. So don't eat them. That's the rule until you do a lot of research or plant mushrooms. Valerie?
Flowers?
But do you know, be specific, do you know of any flowers that are poisonous? No, you don't know of any. Amy?
Poison ivy.
Poison ivy, right? And that doesn't grow very much in Nevada, but it does grow in the states around us. It grows in California and I think Washington. Sometimes they'll grow poison ivy, I think, maybe. I'm not sure. Poison oak is another one that grows around us a lot in other states. It can be very, very uncomfortable if you run into it. Owen?
I was gonna
You
say.
muted your camera.
Oh, hold on.
no.
And then hold on just a second. Amy,
Something
what, honey?
Something happened.
Okay.
Everybody turned off their camera.
Your internet probably is just going a little wonky for a minute. Okay, Owen.
That's always mine. I was gonna say poisonous oak logs.
Okay, so yeah, you're thinking of poison oak. Yep. Hayden.
Maybe some trees like pine trees. Some. Who knows?
No, we're not just guessing right now, Hayden. We're thinking about if we actually know of poisonous things. Okay. Troy?
Poisonous leaves. My mom helps me grow poison stuff and do
Okay, we're
other
being
stuff.
specific, Troy. What kind of poison things? That's what we're talking about. Try to be as specific as you can. All right, so we are going to move. What, Troy?
Nothing.
Okay. All right, so we're going to keep going and keep thinking and talk. And if you remember the names of the poisonous plants, you can share us later.
Well, here's one you might have thought of. This plant called poison ivy. Or maybe this one called poison oak. If you accidentally touch the leaves of either of these plants, you'll probably get a terribly itchy rash. That's because each of these plants are covered in a poisonous oil that they make. Now, after thinking about all of these poisonous or dangerous plants, it could be tempting to think that all plants growing in the wild are dangerous. That it would be best to just stay super far away from them. But nothing could be further from the truth. The world is full of incredible, safe, and delicious plants. Plants in the wild that we can eat. Like, these kids are picking berries in the country of Sweden. The forests in Sweden are full of amazing berries, with names like cloudberries, lingonberries, and blueberries. And Sweden takes its berry picking so seriously, there's even a law in Sweden that lets you pick berries wherever you want, even if it's on someone else's land. But what if you accidentally pick a poisonous berry and you got sick? That's why this question is so important. How can you tell if a plant is poisonous? When it comes to plants like poison ivy or poison oak, you may have heard this rule. Leaves of 3, let it be. If you haven't, that's a good rule to know. The first part of that rule, the leaves of 3 part, is actually telling you to notice a pattern in the leaves. You see, poison ivy and poison oak leaves both grow in patterns of 3. Look closely. See how there are 3 leaves coming out of the stem? So by learning this pattern, you can know to stay away from them. Learning patterns doesn't just help with the poisonous plants either. It's what also helps you figure out which plants you can eat. Like, check out this plant. If you've ever eaten a candy cane or tasted mint gum, you already know what this plant tastes like. It's called a peppermint plant, and it's where we get the flavoring for a lot of mint-flavored things. Do you notice the stem?
My mom has.
It's got a square shape,
Yum.
not a round
Other
shape like
people-
most other plants.
Lots of people grow it.
That's
Listen.
because peppermint is part of the mint family, and almost all of the members of the mint family have square-shaped stems. The cool thing about plants in the mint family, plants like peppermint, basil, and oregano, is that almost none of them are poisonous. So knowing this pattern about the square-shaped stems can help you tell which plants are safe to eat. But the problem is, no one pattern is perfect. For example, if you only follow the leaves of 3 pattern to stay away from poison ivy, you're going to miss out on some awesome fruits, like strawberries and raspberries. They also have 3 leaves on each stem. So if no one pattern is perfect, how do you get really good at knowing which plants are poisonous? Well, there's only one way. You just learn more and more patterns to look for. Take a look at this raspberry plant. It can have the same 3-leaf pattern that poison ivy and poison oak have. But knowing more patterns can help you tell the difference. See how the raspberry plant has tiny thorns on its stem? A poison ivy plant will never have a thorny stem. Also, notice how the raspberry leaves are more sharp and pointy around the edges. A poison ivy leaf is smoother and more rounded looking. So, in summary, you can learn to tell poisonous plants from non-poisonous ones by learning different patterns. No one pattern can tell you whether a plant is poisonous or not. You'll want to learn lots of patterns, but you can do that by getting the help of a plant expert who can teach you. Chances are there are local groups of experts in your area who go looking for wild plants they can eat, called foraging groups, where you can get to meet some of these plant experts and start learning the patterns. There's also some great books on this you can buy or check out from the library. That's all for this week's question. Thanks, Landon, for asking it.
Before you vote on next week's question, we put together some amazing visuals that we'd love to show you. Take a look inside, or if you don't have time, you can skip straight to voting.
Surprising unstoppable plants.
Number 5.
Suppose you want to break this rock in two and you weren't in a rush. Instead of using tools to break it open, can you think of a way that a plant could help you do it? Let's see, is there somebody who did not share? Rudy, what do you think?
Um,
All right, Jaya. Rudy, keep your thinking brain on, okay? Be ready.
I think like unstructurable poison plant can break it.
Okay. Anybody want to add to or build on that at all? Troy?
I think there's like a crack on the top so that you can plant a tree in there, so the whole thing that carries the tree can break it in half.
Okay. All right, good thinking. Let's keep any other ideas in your brains and see if you are correct. Drop a seed in a crack, wait for a tree to sprout, then wait another 20 years, and as the tree grows, its roots will break the rock. I feel like Troy maybe watched this video.
I did.
Okay, well then maybe you shouldn't be raising your hand to share ideas when you're just doing, when you already know the answer. Like think of another way, okay? Tree roots don't just break boulders. Seeds can sprout between stone blocks and buildings too. Check out these ancient and modern buildings. Wonder what they'll look like in 100 years. Whoa.
Number 4.
This brick sidewalk has an opening for a tree to grow in. What do you think the tree will look like as it gets older? What do you guys think the tree will look like as it gets older? See, it's got a nice big opening. So what do we think it's going to look like? Miranda.
I bet you it's gonna look like when it's a baby, it looks like really small, but as it grows, it gets more taller.
Okay, but what about width? Width. Thumbs up if you think it's just going to stay like that, like how it was. Okay, thumbs up if you think it's going to get really big width-wise, which is around. Thumbs up, okay. Whoa, and look at that too. Roots can grow into any crack. Over time, the cracks shape the way the roots grow. So not only did the tree get bigger, but also some of those roots go along the cracks. Interesting. Those look very interesting looking, huh? You can see the square shape of the bricks.
In a tree like that.
Number
before.
3.
This isn't a purple house. It's a house covered in purple flowers. How long do you think it took the flowering vines to cover the house? How long do we think? Ashlyn, how long do you think?
30 years.
30 years. Rudy?
40 years.
Sahedi?
60 years.
Okay, so how about we do this? Thumbs up if you think it's more than like 40 years. Thumbs up if you think it's more than 40 years. Thumbs down if you think it's less than 30 years. Okay. So I see some that think it will take less time. So now, Zahedi, you said 60 years, which is way more than 40. So did you change your mind? You think it took less time? Okay, that's okay. We can change our minds. That's what happens when we get new information or when we think about more. Owen? Okay. Okay, Owen, honey, I can't unmute you. So if you wanted to say something, you need to do it quickly because we've got to move on. Okay. All right, we are just going to move on.
No.
In just over a month, holy cow, vines cover this little house. Why do you think the vines climbed to the house? Are they searching for something? So in just a month, these vines covered that house, that teeny tiny little house. So let's see, did it give us an answer on that other one?
I was going to say that.
I guess it doesn't give us an answer on that, it looks like. So this one, so what do you think the vines, why do they climb on the house though? Why do they climb on the house? Elizabeth?
I think because vines can actually climb on stuff.
Okay, but that didn't answer my question. So make sure you guys think about what we're asking. Other plants like trees grow tall so their leaves are closer to the sun. Vines need light too, so they get tall by climbing up trees and buildings. Whoa, look at all those covered in the vines. That house is full taken over. Whoa.
Whoa. Oh my.
I'm glad that they didn't.
Yes, they didn't actually give us an answer though to that house. Interesting.
Number 2.
Trees may not seem like they are unstoppable. After all, you can cut them down. But what happens to the stump after you cut down a tree? Let's look and see what happens. Okay, so there's the stump. Yeah, at the bottom, let's see what happens to it. Sometimes a tree goes back. The tree's roots may have enough food to create a new sprout like these, even when a tree falls over. Wow, look at that. This one branched off sideways. Wow, pretty cool. It can grow back. These fallen trees have roots in the ground. Their branches have grown straight up, each trying to become a tree. Wow. So this tree fell, and then each of these branches grew up trying to become its own tree, and they grew roots down in the ground.
And now the last one.
Someone thought it was a good idea to nail this sign to a tree. What do you think? Do you have any ideas what might happen? Rudy?
The stop sign is gonna fall off the tree.
Gonna fall off? Somebody have a different idea? Amy?
I think when the tree gets bigger and bigger, I think the branches will cover the stop sign to think that's not actually there.
Okay, and I know a lot of you guys have your hands raised and have beautiful, wonderful answers, but we just don't have time to call on everyone right now. So just keep those in your brain and see if you're right. Whoa, the trees are unstoppable. If something gets in a tree's way, a tree might just grow around it. Weird, but that's not all. Look at that. They grew around the benches. They grew around the signs. A motorcycle. Whoa. A bicycle.
And also, sometimes people add googly eyes to make it look like a tree is trying to eat it, like
Shh, Troy. Yeah, Troy, I don't need you doing that, hon. We already told you not to be a spoiler alerter. So some people add googly eyes to make it look like they're munching things that got in their way. All right. That was fun. Okay. Whoa, Hayden, quit, like, you're yelling. It hurts my ears, hon.
yeah.
What are you talking about, Hayden?
So there's two of me, but
I only see one of you right now. Okay, boys and girls, thank you guys for coming to class, sharing some good ideas. Okay, Hayden, yeah, I just see you joined again. You need to quit. You don't open up the meeting multiple times. That does make you come on multiple times. So anyway, goodbye.
bye 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 bye.